There's this fabulous book which I recommend to everybody that's called Wisdom of Crowds, written by a financial writer named James Surowiecki. I think I'm pronouncing his name sort of right, in 2004, and it's fascinating because it was written before, all the hoopla in 2004. And what he says is there needs to be 4 components before the crowd dynamic can take effect. Independence, so somebody else is not telling you, what you should give your money to. Diversity of opinion, not just a bunch of people in a boardroom with a lot of money. Decentralization, not just in the big city or not, but just spread out all over. And finally, where crowdfunding becomes very important is a place to aggregate the results, which is where the platforms come into importance. Today, we are going to go through the steps to succeeding at crowdfunding. Number 1 is gauge whether crowdfunding is right for you. And we'll talk about the various elements involved in that. I don't mean to be flip when I say have a good idea, but we'll talk about what a good idea in the crowdfunding space means. Choosing a platform, we're going to spend a considerable amount of time on that just so that you understand, there's so many choices. How do you decide? Engaging your target audience, again, Matt pointed that out. You've not only got to build your crowdfunding campaign, but you've got to tell people that you're there, and we'll talk about how that's best done. And then finally, executing from pre-launch to management to post-campaign, and what's all involved in that. So is crowdfunding right for me is the number 1 question. Here's some more stats for you. 75% of crowdfunding projects use a well-crafted video to gain support. So that means that, about 25-30% of those people who choose not to, there are actually a lot of great statistics that have just recently come out about the need for a video. So one of the things you need to do is you need to be willing to do that, and it's a sort of a creepy, scary thing for a lot of people. Because they say, I'm not an actor, I'm not a spokesperson, I don't have the technology. Well, we'll talk about why it doesn't need to back you away from crowdfunding. So 65% of users shoot the videos themselves, and I alluded to that, so we'll go into a little bit more about that later. 80% of users share their posts on Facebook, Twitter, and blogs, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that one of the other stumbling blocks for people, especially if we're not digital natives, 15, 20 years old, we still have a resistance to using social media. So that's something that you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to really put yourself out there? And I'll also talk about how, putting yourself out there doesn't mean personal information. It means creating a persona and engaging with your audience via social media. Projects with clever and enticing giveaways have a 70% higher success rate, and then there's 2 pieces to that. So if blogs or large publications pick up the post, you really do experience quite a spike. So even though many people who have crowdfunding campaigns, or I should say people who donate to crowdfunding campaigns, they're not really interested in the perk. They don't necessarily want to have the perk. What they want is to know that their dollars have helped to bring awareness or bring something to market that's important to them and that is value to a lot of people.